Hi people. It's been a long time since I made a video. There has been a lot of shit. There's been a lot of shit, basically. Yeah. Not to mention that this video for this week is late too, so that's a double whammy of like me not being responsible, etc., etc. Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm hoping things will change. If people are interested, I can elaborate more elsewhere, but I'm just gonna try to keep this short and to the point. Also, my computer died a very dramatic death, so I'm currently filming this on my phone. Another reason why I'm gonna keep it short, and hopefully the situation will be different. If not next week, probably not by next week, but the week afterwards. So, this week is a fluffy week, but the week before that, which I missed, was about compromising and identifying ourselves as a binary gender, or trying to pass as a binary gender. So I thought that I would talk about that because I had stuff to say about that and, missing and yeah. So, basically what the topic is about is choosing to either tell people that you're a binary gender or trying to pass as a binary gender for to make things easier and for various more specific reasons. I personally don't do that much because and when we talk about this, when I talk about this, I'm excluding misgendering. So of course often I do get misgendered as with people who don't know me. Generally I just get misgendered as a girl, and so I'm not really talking about if I get misgendered and then I just refrain from correcting people, but specifically if sometimes if I am asked or I have to identify myself as a form, or just if I have to refer to myself using gendered speech, or just trying to pass as a binary gender. So in my own experience, I don't have a lot of experience doing that. Sometimes I do have to, because sometimes people ask you questions, and forms are generally the only time that I really have that choice, because otherwise I'm not generally, people don't question my gender. They just look at me and they gender me as a girl automatically. But sometimes on forms, official forms, medical forms, there's those check boxes, M or F, something like that. Sometimes it's more optional stuff, but in a video game where you have to choose your avatar and it's are you a boy or a girl? Stuff like that. I tend to either try not to choose, but if they make me choose, if it's an official thing, I'll just choose F, because they're not, it's just not gonna cause, it's gonna cause the least problems for me. A lot of times if it's you to sign up for something, you have to choose, and it's a non-official optional thing, I will usually deliberate, and then I will end up choosing male out of spite. Oh, well, if society, if everybody's gonna gender me as a girl, and force me to make this choice but not really accept anything other than a girl, then I'll just say that I'm a guy, even though I'm not a guy. And there are plenty of other situations where people have to compromise and choose to say or identify to others as a binary gender that luckily I have not encountered. Some very serious situations, like, for example, if you're going to the doctor, especially if you're trying to go to a gender therapist and, like, get, like, a letter or, you know, whatever certification you need to get in order to get hormones or surgery that you need for your transition, a lot of times these therapists and these doctors, they don't accept non-binary people. And not only do they not accept non-binary people, but sometimes, like, even if you tell them you're binary, if you don't fit into gender roles enough, they may also like reject you, or like put barriers or hoops that you have to jump through. Oh shit. Something fell. Hoops. Yeah. Hoops that you have to jump through in order to get the medical care that you need, which is such bullshit, and, like, it's really harmful for trans people, including non-binary people, to not be able to get... Oh, fuck. That didn't happen. Okay, is it good? It's good. I wish I could edit on my phone. Anyway, yeah, it's really harmful for trans people, including non-binary people, to not be able to get the care that they need. And it's so fucked up that we have to lie to the doctors that are apparently certified to deal with gender issues about what our actual gender is, but a lot of people have to do that. And, like, I've like read about and heard people talk about that experience, and it's really messed up. So, yeah. Also, there's the situation of just going around in everyday life, if generally, like, someone like gets the reaction from strangers whenever they're just going about that with, like, whatever, you know, gender presentation comes naturally to them, if they get the reaction of, like, oh, are you a boy or a girl, or just suspicion and transphobia and stuff, sometimes people choose to either say, like, either dress in a way so that they pass as their assigned gender, or as the binary gender, which is opposite of their gender assigned at birth. A lot of people I've talked to and known, a lot of non-binary people often try deliberately to pass as the like, if they try to do this, they try to pass as the binary gender, which is opposite of their gender assigned at birth, because they say, like, it causes less dysphoria for them. But this isn't the case for everyone. Just a lot of the people who I have heard describe doing this, they choose that option. Sometimes even, like, not in something as, like, nebulous as, like, trying to pass in terms of gender presentation, but also just self-identifying explicitly within queer and trans communities. Sometimes even within trans communities and queer communities, non-binary identities aren't accepted. So sometimes people just get rejected, non-binary people get rejected for their identities within the very communities that are supposed to accept us. So often people will just compromise and just say and identify themselves as binary, whether it's binary trans or binary cis. And it's, I don't know, that really pisses me off, like, when it's within trans communities, but, like, a community that only accepts binary trans people and binary trans narratives, so that non-binary people have to, like, that's the last place that we should have to lie in order to get at least some validation or some relief from dysphoria about our gender. like when we're surrounded by other trans people. I've talked to people who make that choice because the communities around them, like that they participate in, are like that. And in order to get both like the social support, which is very important, and like, you know, like validation of at least one's transness a lot of the time, but also, you know, resources like financial resources and healthcare resources that you can only, like, a lot of people can only really get access to through the help of their trans and queer communities. Yeah, yeah. So a lot of people compromise in that situation too. I'm pretty lucky. Not that I haven't like had my identity kind of rejected in you know, the LGBT communities that I've been involved with, but it's generally just been like not making an effort to not misgender me, and like comments behind my back and behind other people's back, non-binary people's backs, and that's it. But I've never been like been put in a position where I felt like the only way I could either just be less disrespected or just like be recognized as trans and be recognized as not a girl would be to choose like to identify myself as a binary gender. If I was like put in a situation like that, I honestly don't know what I would do. I honestly don't know if I would say, okay, well, I'm just going to be pretend to be a queer like cis girl so that it's not even an issue, or if I would be like, oh, I'm going to pretend to be like a binary trans guy. I don't know. If it wasn't a situation where it might impact my, if it wasn't a situation where like surgery or hormones was something I was trying to get, I probably would just like compromise to identify as a girl, just because like I don't know if I could put it in words, except part which I could put in words is that I am more comfortable around girls and women, and my experience, like dysphoria aside, the downsides of being like perceived as a girl is like misogyny, which is like horrible and violent, and the downsides of being perceived as a guy, and this is just like for me, not necessarily for other people. The downsides of being perceived as a guy, aside from dysphoria, would be the expectation that I engage in and participate in misogyny and like toxic masculinity and stuff like that. And I would just rather deal with people being that's a lie, because people being sexist towards me can, in the most extreme situations, like literally be, you know, safety and life threatening. But when it comes to general social interactions, I would rather have to deal with people being sexist towards me as opposed to being perceived as a guy and like being criticized for not being a good guy if I'm like a good enough at being a guy if I'm not masculine enough or I don't perpetuate sexism. And those are things that I'm not perfect, but I generally don't do in regards to sexism, and Lord knows I'm not good at not being feminine. So yeah, I meant for this to be a short video. It's now like 15 minutes, I think. Yep, it's 15 minutes. This is gonna take so long to upload, like, holy shit. I hope everyone's doing well. Again, I apologize to both the viewers and my fellow members for being so absent and not responsible. I hope everybody's doing well. And if you have any questions or like comments about like compromising and like, you know, telling people you're a binary gender or trying to pass as a binary gender, please do let us know and like talk about it in the comments. I feel like different experiences we might be able to teach each other what it's like and like different viewpoints and stuff. Yeah. I hope everyone's doing well. Bye.